Alright guys, just thought I'd give you the before, the after before, so you can decide whether or not you want to finish watching this video. But this is a brass hammer I did, something like that. What you're about to see is how I did it, not necessarily how to do it, but you know what? A lot of us do things and they don't turn out right the first time. This one didn't. I'm only showing you part of it right now. Watch the video if you want to see the rest. But you can see a lot of the steps that I took, things that I did, and what worked and what didn't work. For example, I can't tell you because you got to watch the video. Watch the video. This camera has no field of view. Alright, here's the scoop. I'm doing something different today. I've been wanting to make a brass hammer. I don't have one. I'd like to add that to my collection. So today the objective is to cast a brass hammer. That's the hope anyway. So over the last few weeks I've accumulated, I think, what I need. I do cast silver jewelry, and I have casting sand for that, but I don't want to use that in this project. I don't know why, but I prefer to keep that pristine. So in this project I'm going to mix up my own green sand, I hope, to do casting. I picked up a nice big old ladle, cast iron pot rather, at a flea market. So I'm hoping to take the brass scrap that I've accumulated and melt that down. I did take a shortcut and bought a hammer handle. I should have probably made one, but dollar store, $1. Sand, kitty litter, and we're going to use 2-cycle oil for the green sand. I'll talk about that later. And also for the first time I'm going to try something called lost foam casting. I've heard of lost wax casting. I've never done it, where you make it your model out of wax and then melt that wax or burn that wax out of the casting sand, leaving a cavity. In this case, you make the shape out of foam. You embed that into your casting sand, and as you pour the melted metal into the casting sand, it'll melt the foam and fill in the cavity. So we're going to take a piece of this. I just happened to find a piece of this is blue insulation or something. It's nice high density styrofoam. I think it'll work all right. I'll shape this into the head I want and then cast that into the sand. So there's an awful lot of things to do here, making the green sand and also trying a lost foam for the first time, but that's the project. Stay tuned. Alright, so what I've found in my research is to make green sand, you're going to use like a 10% mixture of bentonite clay and the finest sand you can get, and then either a little bit of water or a little bit of 2-cycle oil. I'm a little nervous about doing the oil, but I'm also nervous about doing the water because of the steam. Oil, because of combustion, we're going to find out what happens so that I don't blow up. But you can find bentonite clay in kitty litter, clumping kitty litter. You can also find it in beauty stores. If you go to the beauty store and buy it, it's already going to be a fine powder. This kitty litter, if you can see, is very granular. So we need to turn that into like a baby powder texture. So I've pulled out one of my old cast pots that I bought for melting in, and we're going to old school powder that, or grind this thing up. Oh yeah, this can take a while, no doubt. You can see that or not, but it's actually working. I haven't had it too long. Definitely you can't tell, but I have a mask on. You know what, I'm going to be breathing this dust. But it's, you know, that's what it used to look like, and it's getting there. It's getting there pretty quickly, actually. Best way to do this is with a ball mill. Or a tumbler of some sort with some abrasive in there, but this is what I'm going to use. Alright, I've been pounding on it for a little while. I thought I'd sift out the fines, just in case you're wondering. I did not steal a strainer from the kitchen. This is from my gold mining equipment, but I thought I'd see if I can use that to filter out some of the fines in this, because that's how we really want it to be, is super fine. And then I'll go back and regrind this up a little bit. So I'll show you what I end up with after I filter this. Alright, after sifting, I got a nice, really fine powder here. So I'll set that off to the side. I'll grind up the rest of it. I think that'll be enough of the bentonite clay. Does this look like fun? Beautifully fun. Getting close though. Oh, my back. Help if I wasn't working off the ground. But anyway, after I'd say 30 minutes of grinding, I got, I think, enough for this bentonite ground up. Nice and fine. And we'll go ahead and start mixing this stuff up. Alright, I'll dump this in and see how many inches we get. Probably would rather put the sand in first, but it is what it is. So we got, you see in there a little bit, kind of. Let's hope we got about an inch. So after there, exactly 1 inch. So we'll go ahead and throw in 10 inches of sand on top of that. Maybe 9 inches. Throw in some sand. I think that's going to be plenty by the time I mix it in there. It's about 9 inches. That's good. Alright, I'm going to mix it up. This sand is already pretty wet, so I might not have to add any water at all. So I'm going to mix all that up and see what it looks like after that. Down to the bottom. I wish I put the bentonite on the top, but I didn't know what I'd end up with. Suppose I could have taken it out. I might get another bucket here and dump it between the two. That's the trick. Alright, I got it mixed up pretty well. It's drier than I thought it was. Again, we're trying to go for, when you put it under pressure, it's going to hold shape. So I'm going to add a little water. I think I'll just go with water instead of oil, because since the sand was a little damp anyway. And we'll add a little bit at a time until we figure out the right mixture. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little sand. And just a little bit of water. Oh, that's a lot of water. A little bit of sand. A little bit of water. That's good. A little bit of sand. A little bit of water. I'm all by guessing by golly here right now, but we'll do that and then I'll mix that up. At this point, I'm getting closer, but I'm not quite there yet, so I'll keep working on it. Alright, I think it's kind of what I want. It's holding together, but just barely. I think that's going to be good enough. First time I've made this from scratch. I don't know if putting too much water in is going to cause an explosion. Steam when cast to it or not, but I think that's good. You can make yourself a shape, it'll hold the shape and then eventually break off. I think that's what we want. I think so. It can pack right in there like that, nice and smooth. So alright, we'll let this sand kind of equalize here while I work on that head. Alright, I cut off a piece of styrofoam that I hope is that's the size that I'd like the head to be. I mean, I gotta shape it up still. Hopefully I have enough brass once I get done. I think I will. I'm shooting for a 3 to 4 pound is what I'm hoping for on a brass hammer. So I cut this to about the right length. I made an indentation of the handle on the bottom. I'll go ahead and cut that out first. Sanding it up. Decided to go with that shape. Nice heavy end on this side. Maybe a more delicate end on that side. I don't know. Just figured I'd put a little shape to it because I could. And we will see what that does. I think that's good enough for me now. I'm going to try to clean this eye up a little bit. And well, maybe I'll do that with a file afterwards. I don't think that's going to be too bad. Alright, well, I got my fire started while I finish up this head and get it cast in the sand. Not happy with the eye, so I put a couple spaces in there and make it jump back to haunt me. We'll see what it looks like when it gets cast, but I can finish it up with a file. We don't even know if this is going to work yet, so while that fire gets warmed up, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing in the sand. I've never tried casting anything in cast iron before, so I have no confidence in this whatsoever. So I'm going to just get that pan warm slowly before I actually put it in the forge. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Alright, so I split this sand about in half. I think that's going to be enough. I'm going to get this leveled off on the bottom, packed down. Put that head in there. Get it nice and smooth. What I want to do is I want to cast it, I believe, in this position like that. So I'm going to just start filling in around it so I can get really tight underneath it. Nice and gentle at first. Make sure that you get that groove filled in underneath. Don't want any cavities. Until I'm about 3/4 of the way up. Alright, I hope I don't live to regret this, but I'll go ahead and put my little eye splices in here. Help compensate for how poorly I did on that eye. And then I want to make sure I don't get any sand on the back side of it, or that'll be inside the head. So I'm going to tape over that. Alright, so I taped over that and I got a little pencil in there to help pull it together. So I'm hoping I'm just going to get sand on the inside where I want it to be. I'm going to put a little in and pack it down in there. Just keep throwing it up so that eye's full. Well, maybe the sound of the gun will work. So we'll keep putting some sand in and we'll keep packing it down. So we get flush on top. Alright, at this point I want to put a couple of air vents in. I'm going to put an air vent in off this end. I'm going to go ahead and put one in off of this end. Alright, I decided to cut a piece of PVC here. And I'll put that in for a pour spout here. And I'm going to put another one right there. I think I can grind one off there. Can only fail, right? Alright, well, I'm a little disappointed. I didn't take out enough sand because I don't have enough to fill flat across the top. So I'm a little worried about that. I'm trying to pack it in the best I can. It's nothing like I would normally do when casting silver though, but let's hope that it works. It's just an experiment at this point. I think it's going to work. Alright, what I'm going to do is clean up the holes. I'm going to try to give myself a bit of a funnel around this spot because I got to be able to pour out of that dang pot, which I don't really have a plan for that yet. And I don't want any of the sand to go in there, so I'm going to start working on that right now. Just get this nice and cleaned around there. So when I pull that pencil out, no sand's going to fall in and block that hole. Do the same over here. Best I can anyway. And I'm going to go ahead and start carving my little funnel around this one. Get it out of there. I'm not exactly happy with it, but it's not too bad. So I was able to build up a little bit of a cone there for a funnel. I'm gonna pull this out. It's not nearly packed as much as I want. A little bit of sand in there, but I guess that's all I can do. I'll pull this breather tube out. Pull this breather tube out. Hope that's good enough to do what I want it to do. There's a little bit of sand in that filler hole, but we'll see. Hopefully it's good. Alright, let's get the brass going now. Whack, whack. Alright, a couple things. I got propane torch, just moving it around the bottom of the pan, just trying to warm that sand up, because it certainly is going to help it to be warm, to let the brass flow, if it flows at all. And then I got my brass and some flux in there, hoping I can get the right temperature. So we'll let it cook and see what happens. Well, I could have poured already, but I was waiting for these hinges to melt, and they are not brass. So I paid for brass, and I got steel hinges with a brass coating. So that was... Alright, this thing's just about ready to go now after I took out all the non-brass. It's melting. It's just a good temperature, I think. Starting to boil a little. That's all that I pulled out that wasn't part of it. So I'm going to get set up and we're going to pour. Alright, boys and girls, here goes nothing. Here goes nothing, here goes everything. Oh, that's hot. Alright, let's see if we can get the hole here somehow without spilling it on me. Oh, well, that's as far as I went. I suspect it wasn't a very good pour. Missed it. I didn't have a good way to pour it. Half of it didn't even go in the damn thing. And because the foam's still burning, I'm saying that that's probably a good indication that I didn't get it. Work for nothing. Look at this blob right here of brass that didn't get in. I don't know. Let's see. No, it didn't blow up. That's the biggest thing, I guess. Who wants to see what we got and what we don't have? Man, it's going to be close. Something doesn't look right. And that was the top half. It may actually be salvageable. When we get it cleaned up, we'll see what we got here for sure. I'll tell you what, if the objective was to pour half a hammer, hey, I'd be first in the county, no doubt about it. I can't believe that. This was the top half too, which I find even more interesting. It appears to me that perhaps my vents, I don't know, I'm not sure what happened. Alright, well, if I show you like this, it doesn't look too bad. Amazing that I was able to capture the detail of those shims that I put in there. I didn't think that would work. Again, this is more of an experiment than anything. If I show you this, you'd say, hey, we're quite a success. If I show you that, there's the rest of the hammer. You know, I knew, I was figuring this wouldn't work out. First of all, I don't believe I had enough steel on account of the fact that all of this that I bought as brass wasn't brass at all. So there's another almost probably half a pound. This thing here actually weighs probably 4 to 4.5 pounds right now, so it's a little heavier than I would have wanted. I'm half tempted to say I can use it the way it is. I'm half tempted to try to forge it into something a little more, and I'm realizing that probably I should just accept this failure and move on with life, but I haven't decided yet. One more thing, back to the details. I mean, that sand, you can see the sand granularity in the hammer in most places. Oh, by the way, for those of you that are watching, trying to figure out how to do this, excuse me, you see these bumps and folds here. If you noticed, when I was pouring, it wasn't a continuous pour. I mean, I knew this. I knew this from before. It has to be a continuous pour. Also, this is the bottom as it sat in the mold. So I poured the brass in this way. I'm not sure why the top filled in before the bottom. My guess is that the foam did not melt fast enough. So that high density foam on something this big just didn't melt fast enough, or there wasn't room for the gases to escape. There wasn't enough air off the bottom. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm going to clean this up. Sometimes in life you have to have some memories of lessons learned. I'm going to keep it, put a handle on it. It's heavy enough, certainly. So I got to be a little more careful when I'm aiming, but I think that'll work. I think that'll work just fine. That'll work just fine. And it'll be a memory. You know what? Sometimes life isn't perfect. But we learned a lot. And I was able to cast. The green sand that I made worked, surprisingly. I learned not to buy hinges off of eBay. I mean, this was all in a box called Scrap Brass, Bell, and a bunch of stuff. There was a lot of brass in there, but not enough. And that's my brass collection on a stick. It's not so bad. I like it, actually. It's kind of like me. Half there, half somewhere else.